little things back and forth here and there. Yes, I have some people reaching out to me and they're saying, "Hey, what's going on? Are you live yet? Are you live yet?" So let me just text a couple of people because they're just asking me if I'm live right now. Yes, I am live. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, we made it, and we are live. Okay, so appreciate you guys all being here. Today is, let's see, today is September 8th. This is the 5th episode of my live stream, self-storage investing live stream with Powell Chee. Today we're going to have Today we have a special guest, but we also are going to be going over one of the deals that we closed on just recently in July. And that's a deal that it's an exciting deal. It's one that, it's an on-market deal, and it's in Montgomery, Alabama. But before we get into like the whole topic of, how we acquired this deal, because the topic today is really on acquisitions. Is what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, is acquisitions. Let us first kind of just do our sort of a welcoming thing here, and then we'll get started. Okay, so let's see. Today, the topic. Oh, it's not off-market deal. It's actually an on-market deal. So sorry about that. It's actually an on-market deal. It's not an off-market deal. This was an on-market deal. I'm going to update that and show it's an on-market deal. All right. So the last 2 weeks we talked about an off-market deal and how to acquire off-market deals and what you need to do to put yourself in position to acquire those. Today we're going to talk about acquiring an on-market deal. All right. And let me see. So today is the 8th. It's our live self-storage investing live stream. This is my episode number 5, a big number 5. And let's get into sort of the topics in the agenda. So today we're going to talk just agenda-wise on-market deals. We'll talk about the personal experience, kind of like what I like to do is just like the case study, right? Like what happened? How do we get this deal? How do we find it? What do we do when we are on site? How do we do the due diligence? That's going to be a kind of a big part of the discussion today, is really the due diligence side of it. That's not something I really went into the last couple of weeks. So I thought it'd be great to have somebody come in today to really get into some of the details about what we do on the due diligence side. All right. So let me see. I'm just going to go over some, just kind of a quick intro, and then I'm going to also bring in my special guest in a second here. But so I'll just do a real quick brief bio. So my personal background traditionally has been in multifamily, and got involved in 5 different syndications when I was in multifamily. Once COVID hit, I started focusing on self-storage. Really, I just decided like, hey, this is the time to really focus on a different asset class. So I looked at self-storage, and it had been an asset class that I'd really liked for a long time, but I just had no idea of how to analyze it, how to run it. It just sounded like a pretty cool thing when you just hear that you don't have any really tenants there, you don't have any toilets or any trash and all that kind of stuff. It's like, hey, it sounds like a lot easier to manage than multifamily, right? So with my team, we were able to put our first deal under contract almost about a year ago. So it's like September, October of last year. And then from there, we closed on that property in January. And after that, we have closed on 3 more properties. Well, 3 more closes since January. We closed on 3 more properties. Sorry, not 3 properties, 3 closes in July. So that brings us to a total of 4 closes in 2021, 6 properties total. People have asked me like, hey, how many units do you have and things like that. I'll just tell you like really quickly, in storage, unit count isn't as really, people don't really go by unit count as much as they do in multifamily. And so in multifamily, it's always like, hey, how many units is this? How many units is that? In storage, it's really more about square footage, right? Because you could have a 50,000 square foot building, but if they're all 5 by 5 units, right, you're going to have like 900 units, right? Or something. You're going to have 800 units. But if they're all 10 by 20s, you might have 200 units. But it's the same size, like square footage wise, right? So in storage, tend to go by square footage a little bit more. All right. I am going to bring in today's special guest, and she is one of my business partners. Her name is Evelyn Ling. Let me see if I can pull up just so that people can see your name. There you go, Evelyn. Okay, awesome. I can see my name too. Okay, great. So Evelyn, why don't you give everybody a quick bio, who you are, what you just give us a 1 to 2 minute bio about yourself, and then we'll kind of get into today's topic. Okay. Are you muted? Hold on. Sorry. There you go.
Okay, perfect. I couldn't unmute myself, so.
Go for it. Did you hear what? Yeah,
no,
we can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hi, everyone. That's my first live stream ever. So, I started. Well, I was in the fashion industry for over 15 years, and I just quit my W-2 on June 30th this year because I want to be a full-time real estate investor, and that was a huge decision for me, and I think that's the best decision that I ever made. I started in real estate exactly in January 2020 when I attended a boot camp, and I had no idea what multifamily was or even self-storage was. And I just went to that convention that was in Los Angeles, and I met so many people. Everybody was like, oh, I just started a year ago. I started 3 years ago. This is where I'm at. I'm like, wow, I had no idea. I was like, I don't know anyone. I don't know how to get started. How should I do it? And they say, it's easy. We're here. Everybody, it's like, just network with people. Everybody's helping each other. We've all been there in your shoes where we just started and we had no idea what we were doing or where to go or what kind of resources we needed. And I signed up right away. I was like, where do I sign? And that was just the beginning of my second life. I would call that this way. So in that coaching program, Powell was my coach. And sorry.
That's fine.
He asked me, what do you think about self-storage? I don't know. What's that? Because I'm originally from Paris in France, and we don't have self-storage because usually we have small apartments, and if we don't have space to store, well, we either sell it or just throw it. And I started looking into it, and I really, really loved the business aspect of it. And I read more about it. I watched so many webinars, and I really got into it. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing asset class. I love it. And the more as we grow together with my team and have different deals with different scenarios, some have expansion, some are like RV and boat storage, and some are covered. Like every time I visit a new facility, and we do also mystery shopping, so where we visit the nearby facilities, I discover new things. I was like, wow, people are very creative in that field. And that gets me even more excited on everything we can do and add value. So I've been on the team with Powell since a year ago, pretty much.
Awesome. Huge part of our team. So I appreciate that, Evelyn. So our format's going to be a little bit different today because Evelyn can't stay for the whole thing. So so what we're going to do today is, first of all, you guys know a little bit about us. We would obviously want to have some interaction. So we want to know where you're from. Okay. So those of you who are watching, let us know where you guys are from, and I think inside the links and all that stuff of the description, it tells you like, hey, if you go and you sign up over here, then we can see who you are and your name rather than just like Facebook user. But let us know where you're from, right? And so that we can get started in really kind of diving into the sort of the due diligence side. All right. And let's see. So, Evelyn, I don't know if you told everybody where you're from.
Oh, I live in Los Angeles.
Okay, good. So yeah, myself too. I live in Los Angeles, but all of my investments have been outside of the state. So outside of California, there have been, all over the place. So the one we're going to talk about today is in Montgomery, Alabama. And so let's say hi to a few people here. So, David Igowitz, buddy Iggy. Great to see you, buddy. Great to see you on here. Oh, sorry if you guys can hear my son getting a little a little animated here. Tyler Dalton, Auburn, Alabama. So, hey, we're talking about one that was in Montgomery, Alabama today. So close to your neighborhood there. Jian Yang from Ohio. Thank you. Thank you for joining. We have a Facebook user. Thanks for joining from Georgia. Appreciate it. Feel free to join us. And if you click that link, we'll be able to see your name if you'd like that. Yoon Seichow, Roseville, California. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining, Yoon. We got another Facebook user. Hey, New York, New Jersey. Thank you. Thank you for joining as well. Let's see, Facebook user. Okay, same Facebook user, but you're visiting LA at the moment. Great, visiting LA, East Coast to West Coast. And let's see, hey, Rob Williams, how you doing, buddy? Saying hi to Evelyn there.
Hi, Rob.
Very cool. Thanks for checking in, everybody. So today we are going to talk about this deal here. Okay, this deal is scrolling here at the bottom. While you're at it, it's a 481 unit, 55,000 square feet storage facility, Montgomery, Alabama. While you're at it, if you just got a quick second, just give us a thumbs up or a like button. Hit that like button. And if you're interested in being a partner with us in the future, you can see the link in the description. There's you can scroll through the different links. There's a link in there that just says if you're interested, sign up here. But yeah, that's just some kind of quick information. We'd love the thumbs up and the likes. Just kind of, I don't know, helps us pop up a little bit higher. So I'm gonna buzz through some of the deal stuff just because Evelyn has a time crunch here, and I want to make sure that she gets to talk. So let me show in stream here. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to show here. Here's the facility. All right, here's the facility. All right, let me pull up another one here. Let's see. Okay, so again, 480 units, 481 units, 55,000 square feet. Here you look at it. Okay. Class C type of storage. You can see now here's the top view, so you can see the different types of buildings, and how they're all organized. I just want to push that out there. Okay, so the different buildings in here, all the different driveways we have. Here's the main street right here that it's on East South Boulevard, and here's the entrance right here. Okay, here's the office where you can see right here is the office. All right, and let's see. Okay, that's a little bit of the images of the property itself, and let me just show you a picture of the actual office. I just actual office, right? And there's just one piece of it. All right. Okay, so we got this property. We put it under contract. We did some negotiations. I'll get into some of that in a second here, but I wanted to fast forward us to, hey, we got this deal. We got it under contract, right? Now that we've got it under contract, let's talk about what happens here. Okay, so one of the most important parts of getting a deal under contract is that you got to start doing your due diligence, right? You got to get out there. So how quickly do we get out there? Say, Evelyn, do we get out there and look at the property once we get under contract?
So we had the clock ticking. So we wanted to make sure that we organize our team and visit the property as soon as possible. We coordinated with the broker to make sure that we could go on site. So I would say in about a week.
Yeah, it's basically about a week after we get under contract, we're going to be flying out there, right? And so we flew with a team of ours, right? I didn't get a picture. I wanted to get the picture of our team just to show everybody, but I couldn't find it. But all of our team was out there. So all the people that are involved in this project, we're, hey, go out there, come with us, learn from us of what we're doing when we're on site, learn from our property manager, right? And then, Evelyn, why don't you just go ahead and walk through some of the steps that we do once we're out there, what we're looking for, what are some of the things that we are, that are kind of key in self-storage that you would want to look at and when you're on site, and some of the other things that we're doing activities-wise with our team.
So we want to check before even going there. We make sure we check all the documents, the due diligence documents. We go through them, look at the numbers, but also look at what they have, what computers, what they have, who's working there. So we make sure we take notes with us before even going on site, how many units are vacant, So before going there, we already have a pretty good idea. So when we are on site, we make sure that we check the office space to see how it is, the software. We take a look at what kind of software they have, if they have a map, if it's everything is well maintained, all the records, because that's the only time after we sign the PSA that they let us have access to everything. So we want to make sure that we take advantage of it. We also make sure we talk to the personnel. If they have someone on site, I usually spend as much time as I can with them because you do learn a lot.
Mhm.
I
Why
would
don't you give
say,
us a sense of like what other parties besides us and besides the seller and the seller, maybe their people, who else are we reaching out to get us an idea of like about the property and some of that process, like inspectors,
so we have,
property
as
manager.
soon as we know that we're under contract, the first thing I do is look for an inspection company. Usually I try to book it for the next day or 2 days after. So we already have a physical inspection of the property. So we know there's some roof issues, if they have some drainage issues, because those can be things that we could talk to the seller about it or renegotiate, because we have a lot of properties in the southern states and a drainage issue could be really like really bad for us.
Yep.
Or it could be hiding something. So yeah, that's the first thing that we do beforehand. So we already have the property inspection report before we even fly to the property.
And how about with our property manager? What
So
kind of things are we doing out there with them?
So we have a property manager. We have them as kind of partners. They do also a feasibility study, which assists us a lot. They go through all the contract, make sure that everything is accurate. They also go through the due diligence documents with us. So it's good to have another pair of eyes. They have the experience, so we can ask them any question, because sometimes we are also learning. So about flood zone, about what can we do with that property? What are the different scenarios we can have of expansion? I don't know. There's so much that it's hard to think of
Yeah.
something.
So, I mean, when we're meeting out there, right, when we're talking with our property manager, so they're on site doing a physical audit, right? So they're going through a physical audit and looking at every single unit that is empty, right? So they lift up the door on every single unit that's empty, and they have criteria if they write it down, like, is this unit available? Is it dirty? Is it not available because there's the door doesn't work or something? So they're going to do a physical audit of each individual unit, right? So that we know. Now you're not allowed to go into ones that are locked or ones that are being used. So those ones you can't really write off. You just write that they're being occupied. But any other ones that we're taking a physical assessment around, right? And then that's an important document, right? Because we're using that to figure out, compare that to what we got from the seller and what we got from the broker. Do these kind of match up, right? In this property, we were saying that it was, I think it was 80% physically occupied, about 73% economic occupancy with that. And so we were kind of gauging, okay, well, our records say that it's about 77%, and I think the broker said it was about like 76%. So we were like, okay, they're legit. They're not trying to hide anything. The seller's not trying to hide anything. So feel good about where that's at. But you want to make sure you're checking, right? So everybody's checking those type of things. And if the seller says, yeah, we have 50 vacant units. 50 vacant units. Are those vacant and ready to be rented? Because that's a difference between ready to be rented, which basically means you just need to sweep it out and it could be rented the next day. Or do these need to be fixed? There's locks that need to be fixed, or doors that need to be fixed, or the unit is broken into, or something's wrong with the unit and you can't rent that out at that particular time, right? So the physical audit is definitely an important piece that our property manager is doing with us, right?
Yeah, and usually they already write down. So we do the pre-work where they already write down the unit number, the condition of the unit, what needs to be done. It could be the hasp, or sometimes you don't. Of course, like sometimes the ceiling has an issue. Oh, they had a water leak above, So we notate all that and make
Mhm.
sure we have that. And then we also have a list of all the vacant units, and we will compare it against the list of the occupancy provided by the seller and make sure that they're pretty much a match.
Yeah. Now, one thing I want to talk about really quickly before you have to go here is what else are we doing to just when we're out there doing our due diligence, not only on this property but on the whole market? Like, what else do we do? How are we doing it? Just kind of talk about that. You kind of alluded to it earlier about the mystery shopping, things like that. But once you give a description of what we do, we're out there.
So we usually select a couple of comps, properties that are similar in size as us, and also some main competitors. So we check in about a 2-mile radius, and we select all the self-storage facilities. We go around, we usually make up a story. Our first property, we had a U-Haul truck, which was perfect. And we usually ask what kind of promotion they offer, what's the rate, what's the occupancy. We don't ask directly like that. We usually say, we would like a 10 by 10 or maybe a 10 by 20. I'm not sure what I need. It's so I want to make sure that you have units available. How many do you have left? Or some are just very open. They go through that list and say, oh, I have this unit. It was like, oh, can we have a copy of it? And some people would just give us a copy. You have their pricing, all the units available. So it gives us a good idea of the market. If you see that all the nearby properties are at 90% occupancy, this is an awesome market. We're like, wow, this is great. And if we can build even more units, that would be awesome. Or we're like, oh, our rates are way below the market price. Then we can reassess that and we say, so we have room for increasing the rates. Or we can see what kind of specials they offer or what kind of amenities they offer to the customer. And we can see, oh, they offer that. Maybe we should think about adding that to this facility. And people like to talk. So we learn about expansion. Oh, they're redoing that road, or they're going to, they know a lot what's going on within the city. So that's also great for us to know. So for me, it's a very important step. We usually visit and we split in teams. So we try to visit 6 or 7 nearby properties to get a good feel of the neighborhood, and also just have know what's going on in the market, the street rate, and the occupancy in general for the competition. And sometimes if you see a very nice facility, we're like, oh, we would like to acquire this one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a huge important piece. We take the time to do that at every property that we're going to buy, right? When we go in the market, helps us get a feel for the market, helps us get a feel for the competition and what we're going to be trying to execute as well, right? And where we fit in and where we think, how we can do in that market. And there's a lot of things that you learn, right? There's a lot of things that you learn. The more facilities that you look at, the more you think, oh, I didn't know that they could do that, or I didn't know that maybe we should do that, or I would never do that. Like that, I would never do it that way. That's terrible. And so you just learn more each time you visit a facility and everything. Evelyn, I don't know if you have to go. If you do have to go, yeah, you do have to go. Okay, sounds good. Definitely appreciate you. Thank you for showing up, and we'll have Evelyn on another time as well, and we can ask her more questions about asset management and property management, asset management, due diligence, all the acquisition side as well. So thank you so much for joining, Evelyn. Appreciate it. If you need to go, you feel free to go. Okay.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks. Awesome. Okay, very cool. So I hope you got a chance. I wanted to bring in Evelyn because she does a ton of work for us. That is awesome. If you do have questions, she wasn't able to stay to answer the questions or anything, but definitely write the questions in. I'll try to answer what I can. If it's a question that's more pertinent to what Evelyn does, then I'll just ask her to chime in as well. Okay, and fill those out. So let me rewind a little bit. Okay, so we went and talked about the due diligence side, right? Really kind of the due diligence side. We'll probably talk a little bit more. I'm going to talk maybe 10 minutes or so on kind of how to find this deal. Like what went into finding this deal and putting under contract, what we liked about it, what we don't like about it, all those type of things. And then we'll get into some Q&A, right? And just kind of end with Q&A. All right. So, and if you do have questions, definitely post them, post them in the chat, and happy to answer the questions when we get to them. Okay. So, question to how do you find a deal? Well, I found this deal was on the market. So it had been on the market for, I believe about, I don't know, at least 3 months before I reached out to the broker. Right. So it was on the market for a little while. Right. And the reason I liked it was just kind of in our price point. It was in a market that we liked. It was, when you're talking about the other facilities that we have, they're in Mississippi, Louisiana. This one's in Alabama, so it's not that far away. And we felt good about it. We felt like this is the type of property that we want to take on, a 481 unit. So there was a lot that we liked about the property. Now, what I think why it didn't sell right away, or what scared people off, is there was a foundation issue, and it was up front. There was a foundation issue with the property, and that meant there was already an engineering report done. And when that engineering report was done, it said that this property would probably need about $100,000 to fix that foundation issue. Okay. So when we got out there, we looked, we were going to obviously look at that foundation issue, right? And look and see what was the problem. Now, when we did it, we found that the contractors would told us, look, it's not just a foundation issue, it's also a drainage issue, that the property next door is draining into our property. And then from our property, it's not draining out well. And so there was going to be a big foundation issue, but there's also going to be a drainage issue that you're going to need to fix. And that was going to probably be something like $200,000, right? So it wasn't 100, it was probably like $200,000. Now, that's some big repairs that we're going to have to fix, right? And so we kind of knew that going into it. And so when I early on did sort of the negotiations of the property, so we talked about, all right, this property was listed at 2.95 million, right? 2.95 million. I came to the broker and I said, hey, look, I don't think we're anywhere near in this property. I think we're close to like 2.4. We're somewhere in the 2.4. So we're like $500,000 away. Really don't think that we're competitive in terms of our offer. So why don't we just talk about the next deal, right? This deal is probably not going to happen. The seller's not going to take a $500,000 cut on this property. However, the broker was like, well, I suggest you put your offer in writing, submit a LOI at your price. That was kind of his way of saying, hey, you might be competitive, right? So I submitted that 2.4 million. But went back and forth a little bit. For a while, we lost it. It was like, yeah, you're interested. It's a little back and forth with the LOI, but maybe it'll happen. And then it kind of fell out. So for about a week later, it fell out, and I was like, oh man, that was a bummer. We were pretty close. We were like at 2.4, whatever, I don't know, and some change. And we think we could have made it with the seller, but they decided to go with somebody else. And about a week later, they came back and they said, hey, we are interested in your offer. Please submit your highest and best offer. And I was like, well, our highest and best offer is 2.4 million. It didn't change. So from there, we just said, we'll see if they come back with. They negotiated a few things in terms of the terms, right? And not so much the price, but like how fast we have to close, extensions and things like that. We agreed to all of that, and then we went forward. During our due diligence, so during the time that Evelyn was talking about, we found out that this property was going to actually incur a lot more issues. The drainage issue was a big one, and the foundation issue. And the foundation issue was bigger than we'd originally thought. So we actually had to retrade this, and I rarely ever come back and retrade. So it's not really something I really do. But I had to come back and retrade, and just said, hey, let's, I can't buy this at this price. It has to be $2.2 million. So back and forth, the seller agreed. And so we ended up getting this property at $2.2 million, which the listing price was 2.95. So that's $750,000 discount on basically a $3 million property. That's a huge discount. That's hard to get. So we felt really good about this going into it. And why the broker went with us, right, is because, I emphasized our reputation of closing deals that, I wouldn't say every deal that we've been in, we've closed. Every deal we've put under contract, we closed, because there is one deal out there that we put under contract. We actually did not close on that deal. We actually had to pull out. But I just emphasize that, hey, just basically almost every single deal that we've ever put under contract, we have closed. And every broker wants to hear that. And then in this case, even though it was kind of a significant haircut on the price, they know that we could close. Okay. So that was like, I just rewind there because I felt like it was an important piece in terms of how we found the deal, right? And why the broker went with us. So when you're talking to a broker and you're going over like, why the broker should choose you, in terms of like your party versus somebody else who's offering something similar, you have to emphasize why you can get this deal done. Okay. So hopefully that gives you guys some insight into what we're doing now. Let me see. So after we did the negotiations, you're basically putting together the team, right? So you're putting together the team. And like Evelyn mentioned, that we have a number of different people who came out with us to see the property. The purchase and sale contract had already been done by this point, and then we're going to do our on-site due diligence, right? So we talked about inspections, the CapEx that we talked about, the repairs, the big repairs that we have to do, and getting our property manager on site with us as well, right? Other third parties that we had to engage really quickly, right? Sorry, phones are going crazy. After you have to engage insurance. So we needed to know about the insurance. We needed to know from the contractors who are going to do the drainage as well as the foundation issues, right? Website, management, software, lenders. The lender is an important one, right? You need to engage them really quickly. So I'll just this one, we went with a credit union. So a credit union is our lender on this property. And once you kind of have selected, which lender you're going with, you need to get your third party reports ASAP, right? And so those third party reports are property conditions assessment, an environmental study, and an appraisal. Those are generally the environmental reports. Those are generally the third party reports that you're going to need to get done. The lender will tell you which ones they need you to get done as well, and you're going to need to pay for them. So you're going to consider like thousands of dollars. Each of those is thousands of dollars. I mean, probably like $5,000 each, right? So be prepared as you're getting your property and you're trying to close the property. Those reports are mandatory. You need to get those, and they're going to cost some money. Okay. All right. So that all said, once you've kind of lined all that up, that's all really done in the acquisition side, right? So this is all like kind of like talking about what you're doing during the acquisitions. The acquisitions, I don't really get into like the actual like running of the deal and the asset management part of it yet, and what we're doing at takeover, because we just closed this property in July, like late July like 28th or something like that. So we we haven't had much time yet to really get into like our full, transition and takeover and what's going on. So we'll get into some of that in a future one, but I just really wanted to focus on the acquisitions part of this. So that all said, definitely appreciate those of you who gave us a thumbs up. So if you give us a like, give us a thumbs up. I did see that somebody said you can't see the links in the description. So you can't see the links in the description. So most of the links are, hey, if you're interested in partnering on a future deal, reach out to me. Just reach out to me directly then. If you're a Facebook friend of mine, then just, send a message, and then I'll send you the link to fill out our partnership questionnaire. All right. So if that's what you're interested in, let's see. See the Facebook said we don't see the links. Okay. So just reach out to me directly, and then I'll send you where the links are. So let's see what else people wrote here. Sean Murtha, what's up? Hi, but what's up, Powell? Okay, good. Great to see you, Sean. A guy I grew up with. Haven't seen him in a long time, man. It's been like 25 years since I've seen you, man. But I hope you're doing well. Tyler, thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Sure you're saying thank you to Evelyn here. Okay. Jan, how much work did you do on the property rehab costs? What was needed? So I kind of went over that a little bit right away, right? So we're not done with the work. So we are doing the work right now in terms of what we are doing on the property, right? So let me just, one of those buildings. So you saw all the different buildings. Let me see if I can just put this up again. Here's all the buildings, right? So we're having drainage. We're having this building at the very bottom. You see this one that goes horizontal? Okay, that's the one on the south side. Okay, we're having an issue with that one right now. We are actually in the process of telling all these people to move out and to move into a different unit, and we're going to take this one and we're probably going to demolish it. We're going to demolish it right now. The foundation issue is a pretty severe issue at that on that building. So we're moving everybody out. We're going to demolish it, and then we're deciding whether we're going to rebuild. Are we going to rebuild and build up new self-storage? Are we going to turn it into parking? Are we going to turn it into parking and then down the line rebuild? This is what we're going through right now. So let me see. I can probably show you what else we're doing on the property. So here's the office, right? We're going to convert the office into climate controlled self-storage. So I remember I showed you the office, right? Here's the office. So it actually has an office and an apartment. So there's an apartment right here, right underneath the office. So right here, there's an apartment, right? It's like a 3-bedroom, like it's full apartment. It's a 3-bedroom apartment, right? And we're going to convert both of them into climate controlled self-storage, right? We're not going to use them as we don't have anything like manned or anything like that. So we don't need them to be occupied. So that's what we're going to do in terms of that. Let's see. We are going to adjust the gates here. So we're going to add another gate system. So this is the gate. The gate comes right here. So everybody comes in this way and then, goes around. Well, we're going to add another gate right here just to make the traffic flow a little bit better, right? And traffic flow a little easier for those people who are on this west side right here. So those are our major things that we're doing. Hope that answers your question there, Gian. How much does it cost? Rehab cost can be, demolishing. I don't know, was something like $20,000. We haven't done it yet. Fence is something like $15,000, I believe. Converting this, we're not sure yet. We're still getting those quotes right now. Converting that into climate controlled self storage. So we're not sure yet. We have to demo the inside and then put up new partitions there. So we're not 100% sure what that will cost yet. So good questions though. Good questions. Those are all things that we put into our budget, into our CapEx budget, right? I think we have over $300,000 in our CapEx budget to do all these things. Okay. Let's see. Tyler, can you break down the asking price, NOI, et cetera? Okay, so I did the asking price. NOI, let's see, I don't have that number in front of me. The NOI was $380,000 from what I believe. I think it was around $380,000. It was in between 380 to 420. We weren't quite, I can't remember exactly. So somewhere between 380 to 420. I closed 3 deals in July, so it's kind of like a blur. Some of them are like get mixed up about which ones we were. So hopefully that answers your question. If you do have more follow-up, feel free to ask as well. Let's see. Having trouble analyzing deals and getting them under contract. I have leads and I'm getting info, but I don't know how to analyze a deal and get under contract. You need help. Okay. Well, if you need help, you need to find somebody that can help you. I mean, the first thing is to get educated, right? So you need to get educated. You need to know what a good deal is, and you need to know how to analyze a deal. Probably need some software help as well. There are, mentorships out there. There's people that have mentorships and paid programs, and you're probably gonna have to pay for that stuff, right? So you can get as much free information as you can, like this. This is free, but there's no tool or anything that I put out that that is free or anything like this. It's a cost. I don't have one, so we have our own underwriting tool that we use. We don't have it. We don't necessarily share it with anybody. It's just a proprietary one that we use. But there are mentoring programs out there that have that stuff, and yes, you have to pay for it. So that's something that you have to do. I don't offer a mentoring program. People have asked me about that. Do I offer a mentoring program? At this point, I do not. It's just not on my list right now. I'm really worried more about acquiring properties. So I'm trying to acquire more and more, not really trying to focus my attention on a secondary stream of income, which would be, coaching or something like that. So that's not really what I'm doing. But you should be out there looking at different mentoring programs and trying to get your hands on an underwriting program and finding out from your mentor who can help you out and analyze deals with you. Okay. So that's my suggestion. And my suggestion is you're going to have to probably pay for it. Okay. All right. My man, David Igowitz. Hey, I got to give a quick story of me and David Igowitz probably toured one of my very first self-storage properties out in the Philadelphia area. This was back in the day. Not back in the day. I mean, this was just a couple of years ago, but I had no idea about how to, what to look for at a self-storage facility. We were just out there. I saw one for sale, contacted the broker and said, hey, I'm going to be out there. David, come with me, man. I'm visiting Philadelphia at the time. Come with me and let's go take a look at this self-storage facility. And I don't know, just take a look at it, right? Just gain some experience by being on site and finding out, what the deal was. It was a climate controlled one in a kind of a smaller market. I think it was like 350 units and I think it was like $1.5 million. I don't really remember the exact, I just remember we didn't pursue it at all. So, but that was a quick story with David and I, and my family went out there and took a look at our property. So David, inspection for self-storage, is that with a GC, an inspection company? Are they fee-based on a square foot basis? So the inspection is done, we do it with a inspection company, right? So an actual inspection company that we pay for an inspector, licensed inspector. We didn't do it with a GC. That would be something that we do later on if we're looking at certain repairs. So certain repairs, we've done that. All right. Are there fees based on square foot? Not on square foot. Well, I don't know. It might be on square foot but it's kind of like you just get a quote from them. You tell them what the facility is. They don't necessarily say, hey, our fees are based on square footage. They're just going to tell you, for this size of a property, we're looking at $4,800, right? And then you say, is that the best you can do? And they tell you yes or no, and then you decide whether or not to move forward with them. And a big part of it is how fast can they get the report back to you, right? Nowadays, you can have inspections done basically the same day. We've gotten them the same day. Sometimes they'll take a week, and when you're under the gun and you only have 30 days to before your money goes hard, then there's a big difference between a week and the same day that they do that. So hopefully that answers your question. I mean, for this facility, again, it was probably like $5,000 to $6,000. And I think we got the report. We got the report before we went out there and visited. So that's like within that first 7 days that we got it done. Okay. Great question though, David. Thanks for asking. Let's see. Doug, you got a question here. Doug Warner, did you keep the on-site manager? Okay. So just to answer that question. So our strategy is we are an unmanned facility. So we do not have a person in the office. So there's no person in the office. There's no person in the apartment building. That way we can convert those into climate controlled or convert them into an office that maybe a small business would rent. Depends on what the office looks like. But we don't have a manned facility. So we don't have a manned facility. It's all done through a call center or done through online on our website. So that's how people rent. Call center, online. They can do it either way, right? But there's no person in the office that they can reach out to. All right. And let me see. But we do have a maintenance person who comes around once a week. So we have a maintenance person who comes around once a week. They will cut the locks. They will put overlocks on. They will pick up trash. They will tell us if something needs to be fixed. They will fix some small things themselves. They will get some eyes on the property and just make sure that we know what's going on with the property. And so they're out there once a week, at least, maybe once or twice a week. Okay, so to answer your question, the short answer is no, we did not keep the person. All right. Jian Yang. Okay, let's see. You got a question. What was the gross income and what do you expect the NOI to be? Okay, what was the gross income and what is the NOI? What do we expect it to be? I don't have those numbers in front of me. And I guess maybe people are asking for these numbers and things like that. I should probably have these numbers prepared. I was just getting pictures and getting all that stuff and trying to get other things kind of set up. But I didn't have I don't have that in front of me as far as like what was the gross income and what do I expect the NOI to be. And I may have misspoke earlier about what was the NOI. I said 380,000. That's wrong. That was what the gross income, I believe, was. The gross income was about 400, I don't know, somewhere in the 420 to 380. I think that's the gross income. Okay. That's not the NOI. So the NOI, I don't remember what the NOI was, what we're projecting it to be. It's also what is it at takeover versus what are we expecting it to be and say, once we're fully stabilized. Sorry, I don't have that answer for you, GN, but the gross income was about a little over 380. So somewhere in the 380 to say 420. I can't remember exactly though. Sorry about that. And I don't have the NOI. Sorry. All right. Tim Chu. How you doing, buddy? Let's see. Hey, Powell. How do you select a property manager, management company, especially if you aim to close quickly? Okay. Yes, that's an important piece of choosing your property manager. You want to make sure your property manager aligns with you and your strategy, right? And it has some familiarity with the area, right? So there are certain questions that you're going to ask like that, like, okay, we are going to run our property unmanned. What's your experience doing an unmanned facility? Maybe they say they have some, maybe they don't have some, maybe they like that, maybe they don't like that, right? And so you want to make sure that you're aligning with property managers who have the same strategy. And you're going to obviously want to ask them their price. What's their price? Yeah. One thing I like to ask also is like, okay, what is your discount tiers? Because we don't plan on just having one property. We're going to plan on having multiple properties, right? So what's your discount tier? Now, one thing that's a little different, I would say, Tim, than multifamily is that your property manager can be a regional or even a national. I can have a regional or a national footprint, right? In multifamily, you're going to have a property manager that really has a local footprint, right? Maybe if they're big, they might have a regional footprint, but you're definitely looking for a local footprint, right? So if you're in whatever city, you're in Madison, Wisconsin, then it's property manager in Madison, Wisconsin, and maybe Milwaukee or somewhere close, and that's probably about it, right? You're not looking for somebody with like a larger footprint. But in self-storage, the property manager's footprint can be nationwide. And a big difference is that your property manager can be one of the biggest self-storage players in the whole market, right? So when you're talking about the big REITs, the REITs, right? The big REITs, those big companies, Public Storage, Life Storage, Extra Space, CubeSmart, those ones are the big REITs. Those are the big boys in the industry. They will actually do property management for you as well, right? So they will do property management. You can hire them to be your property manager, which is very different than multifamily. You can't really hire the biggest name out there or whatever, the biggest multifamily company out there and hire them to be your multifamily property owner, your property manager. Now there's some requirements. They're not going to do every single facility, right? They don't do every single facility. It has to be a certain type of facility. You have to have certain agreements with them and things in place. Has to be big enough for them to do it, but you can hire them. If you have the right facility, you can hire them and to be your property manager, which, they have a lot of power, right? When you're that big, right? Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. In terms of like, look, you gotta reach out to as many people as you can, find out who's going to align with you, what type of property manager, and then, go through and interview them. You're just interviewing, we interviewed like 4 or 5, and actually the property manager that was previous property manager on this facility was actually one of the ones that we interviewed, right? And we almost went with them, but we actually went with a different one, right? That aligned with us a little bit better. So, okay. Thanks for the question though, Tim. If you got any follow-up, feel free to ask. GN, let's see, I have another question. Do you find a homeowner inspection? Wait, do you find a homeowner inspection, or who does the inspection? Okay. Yeah, you just look for a commercial. Look for a commercial inspector. Okay. So not a residential like inspector. You just want to make sure that they've done commercial properties. All right. And they can do a commercial one. And again, self-storage isn't super complicated, right? They hear that, hey, I got to do a self-storage inspection. It's not that tough, right? You're looking at cinder block or brick or metal walls, right? Or wood walls, and then a roof, right? There's no real plumbing. There's very little electrical. They don't really do that stuff anyway, but, so there isn't a ton that they're really looking at, right? So it's not like a multifamily. They got to look under here and look under crawl spaces and then go in the attic and do all this stuff. And, looking all over the place. It's really simple, right? So they don't have a huge amount to it's not that complicated. So just make sure it's the commercial inspector, and then they should all be able to do it, right? Pretty easy. Okay. David, thank you. Yep. Good to see you, buddy. And let's see here. Last one. Okay. What are the pros and cons of self-storage compared with multifamily? I don't have time to get into this right now. It's like 5 minutes left. So, but this is a great topic. So I think that several people have asked me about this topic, about comparing multifamily and self-storage. So maybe that's a topic that I'll bring up and we can discuss, what are the sort of the pros and cons of self-storage and multifamily. Happy to discuss that as well. I think that's a good topic. And I think a lot of people would probably be interested in that as well. Okay. So let's see. Gian, you had another question here. Let me see. Sorry, notification. Oh, sorry. Hold on a second. Okay. Gian, you had another question. It's okay. What is the hold time? The hold time on this property? Okay, so we are projecting right now probably that we can do a refinance within 3 to 4 years, right? We would do a refinance in 3 to 4 years, return 100% of our investors' capital at that point, and then we will hold for a longer period. So probably 7 to 10 years after that. So if you're talking total hold time, you're looking at 10 years, something like that. But if we can refinance and return everybody's capital at year 3 or 4, then everybody is basically in for infinite returns at this point. So I don't know. That's what our projections are, and that's where we're heading for, and that's what we're looking forward to do on this deal. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's all the questions. So I would say that, hey, if you like this, if it's something that you got some nugget of information from. Again, if you would just give me a little thumbs up, I'd appreciate that. If you do want to partner with me in a deal, or you want to hear more about the actual deals, like you want to get into the nitty gritty of the details, I don't go into the nitty gritty of income and expenses on each particular property because, until the property is really, really done. Right? I can't really get into the nitty gritty details especially of properties that we have upcoming. But if you're interested, you want to partner, you want to talk about deals that we have upcoming, then just send me a direct message, and I'll send you a link to our partnership questionnaire, and happy to discuss them at that time. But okay, other than that, I try to do these on Tuesdays. I know today's Wednesday. I try to do these on Tuesdays. I would say Tuesday or Wednesday, because sometimes my Tuesdays are really packed. So Tuesday or Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Appreciate you guys all joining. If there's anything that you have as follow-up questions, feel free to just post any follow-up questions. I'll try to answer them in the comments as well. But thank you very much for joining. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. If you do have any other topics that you'd love me to like me to discuss, pros and cons of self-storage compared to multifamily or something like that, happy to do that at that time. Okay, reach out to me and let me know. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Take care.